context surrounding the French Revolution, 1789 to 1799, is crucial for understanding both its causes and its impacts. This context is a multifaceted tapestry woven from economic distress, social inequality, and political turmoil. At the heart of this upheaval was the Ancien Régime, a political and social system characterized by rigid class hierarchies and absolute monarchy. The Third Estate, comprising the common people, was burdened by heavy taxes and denied a proportional voice in governance, while the nobility and clergy enjoyed privileges and exemptions. This systemic inequity fueled widespread dissatisfaction and ignited revolutionary fervor. Understanding this context is essential, as it sets the stage for the dramatic changes that unfolded during the revolution. It highlights the factors that drove ordinary citizens to challenge the status quo and seek radical reforms. It also underscores the revolution's broader implications, influencing ideas about governance, rights, and social justice that resonate to this day. For instance, the storming of the Bastille on July 14, 1789, became a symbolic act of resistance against tyranny and is still celebrated as France's National Day, marking the broader struggle for freedom and equality. Additionally, the economic strain, epitomized by the food scarcity and the financial crisis that France endured due to costly wars and royal decadence, exemplifies how economic grievances can catalyze political action. Scholars like Alexis de Tocqueville and Edmund Burke provide varied perspectives on this context. Tocqueville saw the revolution as an inevitable clash of evolving social dynamics, while Burke viewed it with skepticism, fearing the chaos that abrupt changes could unleash. These differing opinions highlight ongoing debates about the nature of revolutionary change. However, understanding the context of the French Revolution is not without its challenges. Some analyses might downplay the role of Enlightenment ideas or oversimplify the complex interplay of factors leading to revolution. Alternative viewpoints suggest that the revolution's focus on liberty and equality was marred by subsequent violence and authoritarianism, raising questions about the costs and contradictions of revolutionary change. This context deeply connects to other aspects of the revolution, such as the rise of radical factions, the Reign of Terror, and ultimately, the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte. Each phase draws from the groundwork laid by the discontent and aspirations that the initial context encapsulated. By examining these foundational elements, we gain valuable insights into the dynamics of change and the intricate dance between ideals and reality during one of history's most transformative periods. Heading: The Reign of Terror, 1793-1794. The Reign of Terror was a period during the French Revolution characterized by mass executions and political purges. Initiated by the revolutionary government to eliminate perceived enemies of the revolution, it lasted from September 1793 to July 1794. The government, led by the Committee of Public Safety, and figures like Maximilien Robespierre, sought to stabilize France amid internal rebellion and external threats. A state of heightened paranoia and revolutionary fervor led to swift trials and widespread use of the guillotine, most notably in Paris, to remove counter-revolutionary elements. The significance of the Reign of Terror lies in its impact on both the trajectory of the revolution and its ideological implications. This period demonstrated the lengths to which revolutionary leadership would go to maintain their vision of a republic, underscoring the conflict between revolutionary ideals and oppressive tactics. It was a stark illustration of how the revolution originally driven by calls for liberty and equality, could spiral into violent repression. One specific example of the Reign of Terror is the execution of Marie Antoinette, emblematic of the overthrow of the old regime. Her execution on October 16, 1793, symbolized the rejection of monarchy. Another notable event was the execution of the Girondins, a political faction deemed too moderate, reflecting the intense internecine strife within revolutionary politics. These examples highlight how revolutionary goals, when pursued through radical and violent means, can fracture societal cohesion and provoke enduring historical debates. Proponents of the Reign of Terror argue that drastic measures were necessary to protect the nascent republic from its enemies. They contend that the period helped centralize and consolidate power in a time of existential threat. Critics, however, view it as a betrayal of revolutionary principles, exposing inherent contradictions and the abuse of power under the guise of safeguarding revolution. The Terror's legacy raises profound questions regarding the balance between security and freedom. Challenges associated with the Reign of Terror include its reinforcement of cycles of violence and the justification of authoritarianism in the pursuit of revolutionary ideals. Alternative viewpoints suggest that while the period may have temporarily boosted security, it ultimately destabilized the nation and disillusioned many, leading to Robespierre's downfall and the eventual rise of Napoleon Bonaparte. The Reign of Terror connects to the larger revolutionary arc by illustrating the volatility of radical change and the dynamics of power. It influenced subsequent revolutions worldwide, as others grappled with the complex interplay between ideology and governance. Understanding this period offers key insights into the paradoxes of revolutionary movements and the fine line between justice and tyranny. The causes and precursors to the French Revolution encompass a multitude of social, economic, and political factors that converged to create a climate ripe for transformative change. At its core, the revolution was ignited by widespread discontent with the Ancien Régime, France's outdated feudal and monarchical system, which perpetuated inequality and stifled progress. The significance of understanding these causes is profound, as it sheds light on why a seemingly stable society could explode into one of history's most influential upheavals. Economically, France was in dire straits. The burden of debt from continuous warfare, including support for the American Revolution, drained the treasury, leading to heavy taxation on the already suffering Third Estate, comprising peasants, workers, and the middle class. This inequitable tax system fueled resentment against the privileged First and Second Estates, the clergy and nobility, who were largely exempt from such duties. Specific examples highlight the influence of Enlightenment ideas advocating liberty, equality, and fraternity. Thinkers like Voltaire and Rousseau criticized the absolute monarchy and provided intellectual ammunition for revolutionary leaders. Politically, King Louis XVI's inability to implement meaningful reforms compounded these issues. The 1787 Assembly of Notables and the subsequent failure of the Estates General in 1789 exemplify how attempts at reform were stymied by entrenched interests. These events underscored the incapacity of existing structures to address societal needs, precipitating widespread calls for a representative government. Support for the inevitability of change came from various quarters, including the burgeoning bourgeoisie, who increasingly demanded political power commensurate with their economic contributions. However, Potential challenges to these viewpoints include the argument that external factors, such as crop failures and resultant food shortages, played a more significant role than ideological motivations. Controversies also loom regarding the extent to which the Enlightenment directly influenced the revolution, versus serving as a post-facto justification for actions driven by more immediate concerns. Nonetheless, these causes and precursors essentially set the stage for subsequent events: the storming of the Bastille, the declaration of the rights of man and of the citizen, and ultimately the radicalization of the revolution. In sum, these initial sparks not only illuminate the underlying tensions that led to the French Revolution, but also connect directly to its unfolding drama. They demonstrate how deeply ingrained socio-political structures can be challenged and ultimately dismantled, forever altering the trajectory of a nation and inspiring future movements worldwide. The heading, The French Revolution, 1789 to 1799, The Rise and Fall of a Revolution, encapsulates a pivotal period in world history where radical political and social upheavals fundamentally transformed France and influenced global dynamics. The French Revolution marked the collapse of the absolute monarchy, a deeply entrenched feudal system, and the rise of republicanism fueled by Enlightenment ideals advocating liberty, equality, and fraternity. It heralded the birth of citizens' rights by overthrowing centuries of monarchical rule and planting the seeds for modern democracies. The significance of the French Revolution lies in its role as a watershed moment that inspired revolutionary movements worldwide. Its declaration of human rights provided a blueprint for subsequent democratic revolutions, emphasizing universal human rights. This period saw figures like Maximilien Robespierre advocating the sovereignty of the people, resulting in progressive reforms, but also culminating in the Reign of Terror, which highlighted the revolution's darker side as it led to a period of extreme violence and political purges. A notable example is the abolition of feudal privileges, which dissolved traditional societal hierarchies, redistributing power from the nobility to the masses, and triggering similar progressive reforms in other nations. Additionally, the Napoleonic Code, established by Napoleon Bonaparte post-revolution, broadly influenced legal systems worldwide by establishing foundational tenets of civil law, which persist in various legal frameworks today. Supporters argue that the French Revolution paved the way for modern democracy by establishing principles that influence constitutions worldwide. These transformations underscored an era where public discourse and popular sovereignty began to challenge autocratic rule, prompting scholars like Alexis de Tocqueville to highlight its crucial role in shaping contemporary government structures and civil liberties. Yet the revolution also faced significant challenges and controversies. The initial pursuit of equality often spiraled into violence and disorder, drawing criticism for the methods it employed. Critics argue that the revolutionary zeal sometimes led to authoritarianism, contradicting its founding ideals, as evidenced by the eventual rise of Napoleon Bonaparte, who established himself as emperor. This period connects deeply with the broader narrative of political revolutions, serving as a precursor to later uprisings such as the Russian Revolution. It showcases the fragile balance between revolutionary ideals and the practical execution of achieving change. The interplay between maintaining order and upholding liberating tenets remains a constant struggle in political movements, highlighting the ongoing impact and historical significance of the French Revolution on modern governance and societal transformation.